Hello and good morning, everyone. Do we have any questions before I begin or continue with proportions? Anything that you want to discuss? You're ready to be done with the week? Get your weekend started?
Yes,
I know I am. Okay, so let's continue with proportions. So we've already talked a little bit about, ratios and percents, and now we're talking about this idea of a proportion.
Are you recording?
Yes, it is recording. Yes, thank you. And I gave you a couple of examples of that last class, but we'll start with the first problem here on our packet. Let's see if I can't get this to zoom in. Where's my zoom tool? See if this works. No, that didn't really work. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, so let's look at number 11. Now, remember, these problems, some of them you can just do them mentally, but we want to set up like a systematic approach for these. So it says Joe's heart beats 11 times in 10 seconds. At that rate, how many times does his heart beat in 60 seconds? Okay, so let's go through. I put a couple of steps here on what we can do to solve proportion problems. First thing is we want to set up what's called the equivalence relationship. And that's the part that's given to us about Joe's heartbeat. So we know that Joe's heart has 11 beats, every 10 seconds. All right. So from that, we go to part 2 and we create 2 ratios from that. So we can either write 11 beats per 10 seconds or over 10 seconds, or we can write it the other way around, 10 seconds per 11 beats. So in other words, every equivalence relationship you're ever given, you can always create 2 ratios from that equivalence. Now, once we've done that, we want to make sure we read the problem and figure out what we're solving for. And whatever we're solving for, we want to put that on top. So what I mean by that is when you look at this, it says at this rate, how many times does his heart beat, right? How many times his heart beat? That's what we want, right? We want this. And because we want that, we want to put that on top of a ratio. So I'm going to write down here X, come on. I'm going to write X beats, because that's what we're trying to figure out, is how many beats there are in 60 seconds, because we are given 60 seconds here. Is that all right? Okay, so we write down, we put on top what we're looking for, X beats every 60 seconds. And then what we do is step 4 is just to make an equation out of this. So we say this must equal, or we're saying it must be proportional to one of these 2. It's either going to be the 11 beats per 10 seconds or the 10 seconds for every 11 beats. And what we want to do is use the ratio that has the same units, the beats on top and the seconds on the bottom. So we want to throw this one out. We want to use the 11 beats over 10 seconds. Are there any questions on that? You sure? Okay, now it's a matter of trying to solve for X. So we want to get X by itself. And I had a discussion with one of your classmates at the end of class last time. They stayed a little bit late and we talked about this. They asked me, can we just cross multiply right here? And the answer is yes, you can. You can just cross multiply. The reason I don't show that is just because it adds one additional step to the problem. So I'm going to do it the way first that I showed last class, and then I'll do it with the cross multiply, and you can pick which way you like. So the way I said last time is we're trying to get the X beats by itself. So we want to get rid of the 60 seconds that's that's on the bottom. So what we do is we multiply, I'm going to move this out of here. We multiply the left side by 60 seconds. I'm going to write it as a fraction, 60 seconds over 1. And whatever we do to the left side, we have to do the right side. So I'm going to multiply the right side by 60 seconds over 1. So we're doing the same operation on both sides of the equation. And what that allows me to do is cancel out the 60 seconds completely. On the right-hand side, the units, the seconds just cancel out. And what you're left with is x, hold on, there's something on me. What the hell is that? So what we're left with is x beats equals, now what we need to do here is figure out what numbers are left. We have an 11, we have a 60, and we have a 10 on the bottom. So we need to multiply the 11 times 60 first. All right, so what would 11 times 60 be? I think that's 660. So we get 660, and then divide that by 11, and this is how many beats we have. Oh, sorry, divide that by 10. I don't know why I put 11 there. And finally, we can just solve for x and just do that, you know, either in your head or on your calculator. You should get 66. 66 beats. All right, does that make sense? Again, you could have maybe started this problem out and said, oh, his heart beats 11 times in 10 seconds. So in 60 seconds, that's 6 times as long, and multiply 6 times 11, you get 66. And you may have been able to do that in your head. But again, this is more about a systematic approach. And we'll see how on like number 12, it's not going to be as easy to do in our heads. So we need a way of doing it. Now I said I was going to show you the other way. So I'm going to say, or what you could have done is when you were at this point that you had x over x beats over 60 seconds equals 11 beats over 10 seconds, you can cross multiply. And all that means is you multiply here to here and here to here. So when I do that, and this is why I don't show this, it gets a little tricky. When you multiply x beats by 10 seconds, you get 10 times x times, and you still have beats and you still have seconds. And then when you multiply the other one, the 11 beats times the 60 seconds, you get, what's that, 660? That's 11 times 60. And then I still have beats and I still have seconds. So you've cross multiplied, and now you solve for x. You still have to go solve for x now. We want to get that by itself. So now you need to divide by 10. And not only do you need to divide by 10, you have to divide by 10 seconds to get rid of the seconds. So you would divide this side by 10 seconds. You divide this side by 10 seconds. And the 10s go away, the seconds go away, over here the seconds go away, and you basically have the same math here. 660 divided by 10, that's what we had up here. So you wind up getting the same answer. I think the cross multiply is fine. You just have to remember, you still have to go get x. Like you still have to do this step where you divide through. So you pick which way works for you. They both get you to the correct answer. Any questions? We're going to do number 12, and then I think I'm going to have you all do number 13. So let's do number 12. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the equivalence relationship that I have. It says one bagel has 320 calories. So one bagel, I could say equals 320 calories. I'm just going to put cal, okay? That's my equivalence relationship. From that, let's see, let's pick on somebody today. How about Sebastian? Sebastian, how you doing, Sebastian? You around?
Yes, sir, I'm right here. I'm doing pretty well.
Okay, good. Let me bring up the kind of the steps from the previous page. And let me slap those in here. maybe. Whoa. All right, Sebastian. So what my question is for you is, I've done the first step. I've set up the equivalence relation. What would be the next step?
Well, now you got to do the two ratios. So either
Okay.
one bagel over 320 calories.
Okay,
or
I'm just going to put 1B. Is that okay, everyone? I'm being lazy today. Over 320 calories. All right.
Or 320 cal over 1B.
Okay, or 320 cal over 1B. Okay, so good. You set up the two ratios. You're going to use one of those. I'm not quite sure which one yet. We need to figure out what's being asked. So, Sebastian, what are they asking for in number 12? Can you read it? Can you see it okay?
Yes, it says how many calories are in 2.5 bagels.
Yeah, so we want to know how many calories, right? That's what we want to know.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean we need to do over here?
So I believe we're gonna make a new ratio. It's gonna be X cows over
So read that question. How many calories are in what?
Oh, and 2.5. So
2.5. Okay, so
yeah.
2.5. How do you want me to write that, Sebastian? Do you want me to write two, like, do you want me to write 2.5, or do you want me to write 2.5? Either one works. I'm just asking you what you want me to do.
2.5. Let's
2.5. Okay, so let's do 2.5 here. And it's 2.5 what?
cal. Or bagels, I mean.
Bagels, right? Okay. Is everyone clear on that? Okay, and then let's go to someone else. Good job, Sebastian. How about Emily? Is Emily around?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. So Emily, are you following along okay?
Yes.
Okay, so what would I do now? I've set up, I put what I want on top and the rest of the information on the bottom. How am I going to use that now?
So you would set it equal to the second equation that you wrote.
Yep, exactly.
The calories on top.
With the calories on top. So 320 cal over 1 bagel, like that. So we're using this one because calories was on top. We're going to ignore the first one. Okay, good. So Emily, what now?
So I'm used to cross multiply. That's
Okay.
just what I do.
That's fine. We can do that. The whole idea, though, is to solve for the x, right? So you've decided you're going to cross multiply. Now, Emily, when you cross multiply, you know how in the previous example, like I brought the seconds with me and did all that?
Yes.
You don't have to do that. If you just remember that at the end of the problem, your answer, you need to put the units. And remember, we're solving for the number of calories, right? That's what we wanted?
Yes.
So if you want, you could just really be looking at this as like an equation. Like that, and just forget the units completely. And just remember, whatever your answer is for x, it's calories. Do you want to do it that way, or you want me to keep the units? I don't care.
No, I usually just ignore the units until the end.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Just everyone remember that whatever your answer is at the end, you must put the unit there, or else we don't know if you're talking about bagels or calories here. Okay, so Emily, you're going to cross multiply now.
Yes.
So on the left side, you'll get what?
1x.
1x, which I'm just going to put x, and on the right side
is equal to 2.5 times 320.
Times 320. Do you have a calculator handy?
Yes, that equals 800.
800. Okay, so 800
calories.
calories. There we go. So remember I was showing you my bike rides last class, those of you who hung out at the end? 20-mile ride, 20-something mile ride is about 800 calories. So, you know, spending over an hour on the bike is just enough to burn off two bagels. All right. Let's see here. I want to do number 13, but let's do it as groups. We haven't broken out into groups in a while. What I really want y'all to do is just kind of talk through what the setup's going to be, and each of you individually try and set up the 4 steps, okay? And see if you can get to an answer. I'll give each group, you know, 5 to 7 minutes. So you're about to be invited into a breakout room. So go ahead and just join that room, and y'all talk amongst yourselves and see how it goes. Okay, here we go. I will bring everyone back at the end. Okay, I think we've almost got everyone back here. Okay, so I have here on the screen the first two steps. Was everyone able to get those first two steps at least? The equivalence relation and then the two ratios. Okay, so who would like to explain what's tricky about this problem and what you have to be real careful with? And you probably ran into it on step 3. Anyone want to volunteer? Lauren?
The week and days stuff.
Yeah, so on step 3, right, you're going to put down, you know, what you're looking for. Oops, I moved the problem. So we were looking for how many gallons, right, are lost. So Lauren, you put something like X gallons, is that correct?
Yeah, I put X gallons over 30 days, and then I switched the 1 week to 7 days just so it'll match.
Yeah, so here is the first time that we've had units that don't match. What's given to us talks about weeks, right? What happens in 1 week? But we're asked to find how many gallons would be lost in 30 days. We have to recognize that in the problem, or else we're gonna get the wrong answer. So one thing we could do is we could try and turn 30 days into weeks. The problem with that is there's 7 days in a week. And so 30 is not a nice number. We can't say that that's, you know, 3 weeks or 4 weeks. It would be some fraction of a week. So it's easier to switch our weeks over to days, which I think Lauren is suggesting that what you did is change this 1 week back in the original equivalence relation. You changed this to 7 days.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And that changes your ratios to 7 days here. And then this one, oops, I just erased the wrong one. This one to 7 days. Okay, that's good. And then Lauren, what did you set that equal to?
For number 3, like the step 3, I put equal to 24.7 gallons over 7 days.
Good. And that's because we needed the gallons on top, because that's what we were solving for. Now, did you actually get an answer, Lauren?
Yeah, so I cross multiplied.
Cross multiplied? When you cross multiplied, you got what?
Like after I cross multiplied, it was 7x.
Yeah, like what was your equation when you did this and this? What was your equation?
It ended up being 7x is equal to 741 over 7.
Okay, so you did 30 times that, and then you did 741, and then you divided by 7 after that?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so you're not using the units, which is fine. You divide both sides by 7. And you probably got a decimal, right, on your calculator?
Yeah, so after I divided that and everything, I got X is equal to 105.9 gallons.
105 point, yeah, you rounded, so that's fine. 105.9 gallons. Good job.
Does it matter
Okay.
if you round or not?
It's okay. We're not, I mean, if you want to round that to 106, I'd be okay with that. We just want to get close. The more important thing is are you setting up your ratio and your proportions correctly? And are you getting that conversion from days to weeks or weeks to days correct?
Because
Okay,
I
so
had
just
put
be
down
careful.
105.85 gallons.
Yeah,
but I
that's
don't know.
fine. You can do that. 105.85, 105.86. I'm not going to be real picky about that.
Okay.
Yeah. We're not trying to build a bridge or an airplane right now, you know, so we're not real concerned. Okay. So I hope these 3 examples will help you in your homework when you go to do these problems. That's it for proportions right now. It's actually funny. Well, I don't know if it's funny, but back in April, we had a water leak in our house, and it happened I went to bed at 11 o'clock that night, and it was in our master bedroom bathroom. The hose coming out of the wall into the toilet leaked. And so I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I stepped out of my bed into like an inch of water in the house. And like the whole first floor was in an inch of water. So we had to have all our floors ripped out and all this stuff done. And I can tell you right now, it was leaking more than 24.7 gallons in a week. It was more like 2,000 gallons in like 4 hours. So it's amazing how much water can come out of a little tiny pipe in such a little amount of time. All right, well, let's move on. So we're gonna go back and talk about percents again, but this time we're gonna do some applications with them. We're gonna do some kind of real world problems. These are things that you deal with, you know, if you do any shopping at all, then you deal with percents. So let's look at first a couple of formulas. The first one is this thing, price plus price times tax rate equals total. Now I'm going to write that a different way. On my page, I'm going to write total equals price plus price times R, which R is going to stand for the tax rate. And it's very important that when you use this formula, that your tax rate is a decimal. In other words, if the tax is 8%, you don't want to put the number 8 in the formula, you want to put 0.08. So you'll always have to convert the percentage to a decimal before you use the formula. Okay, so what this formula tells you is that, let's say you go and you want to buy something, right, that costs $200, and tax is, you know, what is tax in San Antonio? 8.125, I think, or something like that, percent. Then this formula will give you how much you're going to pay at the end. Okay, so I could go through these examples, but I'm going to make up my own. So has anyone bought anything recently that you want to share with us? Something somewhat substantial, not like a pack of gum or something. Anyone buy like a TV or computer or something like that? No?
I just bought a computer.
Yeah. Do you know how much it was about?
About 300.
About 300? Okay.
I think it was actually like 301.
Okay, let's just go with that. So Abby bought the computer for $301. The tax rate, so I'm going to assume that Abby paid tax on this. The tax rate is, and do y'all know that the taxes depend on like what city you live in? Like, so taxes are different from like city to city. So in San Antonio, I believe it's 8.125%. Maybe should we look that up, or do we care? No, we don't care. Okay, 8.125%. Okay. So the question is, how much did Abby pay total then? So how much did she pay total? How much was her total? Okay, so in this problem, P, right? P is the price. That's the price, the sale price of the computer, which is 301. And then the tax rate, right, is 8.125, but we have to convert that to a percentage. I mean, sorry, from a percentage to a decimal. So that means we're going to take the decimal point and we're going to move it 2 places to the left, which creates a 0 in front of the 8, and that's where we drop the decimal point off. So this is going to become 0.08125. That's our tax rate. That's R. So once you have this, it's just a matter of plugging into the formula, getting your calculator out, punching things in, and being done. So our total will be 301 plus 301 times 0.08125. Now remember order of operations. Okay, that's about the only thing that you can really mess up here. is you've got to do the multiplication before you do that addition. So you don't add the 301s together, obviously. I hope that's obvious. So I'm going to get on my calculator right now. I'm going to do 301 times 0.08125, and I get 24, 301, so our total is 301 plus, I get 24.456. I'm going to round 2 decimal places. And the reason I'm rounding 2 decimal places is because we're talking about money. And so that's $24.46. And then I add that to 301, that's 325.46. And I need to put the dollar sign because we're talking about money here. So that's how much Abby's gonna pay, or Abby paid, approximately, all right? So while we're talking about taxes, what do our taxes go to? Like, what do we pay taxes for? We all do it every day, right? What, Sebastian?
Roads, all that
Roads.
sorts of stuff.
Fire department, police, right? Northwest Vista College is a community college. It is funded by taxpayers, right? So money, now sales tax doesn't contribute as much. It's most of the money comes from property taxes, but anyway, okay. So let's talk about a different example, all right? Let's talk about, y'all want to talk about property taxes? Let's do property taxes. This is always fun. I mean, fun for me. I don't know if it's fun for you, but a lot of you are not at a position yet in your life where you own your own home yet. I mean, if you do, great, but you know, most of you don't own your own home. At some point in time, you might, right? Hopefully you will. When you buy a home, you know, you buy it for a certain amount. And then every year the county, like here we live in Bexar County, every year the county will charge you money just for having your home in the county. Okay, just you're going to get charged, and the amount that they charge you is based upon the value of your home. Okay, and let me see, let me figure out what my tax rate is about. Hold on, I can figure this out pretty quick. Okay, so I pay about 2.2%. I live outside the city, so I pay county taxes. I don't pay a bunch of city taxes, but my tax rate, so we're talking about, what are we talking about? Property taxes. And if this bores you, like, oh, we're talking about property taxes, I have like a more profound question for the class when we get to the end of this. Property taxes. The rate is, and I'm just making up the rate that I pay, the rate is 2.2%, all right? How much will I pay per year if my home is worth, okay, how much do you want my home to be worth?
Give us like a reasonable price.
What's reasonable?
I don't know. I don't know.
250,000.
Okay, we'll go with $250,000 home. All right. So look, you have to remember when you buy a home, you borrow most of you, when you buy your first home, you're going to be borrowing money from the bank, right? And you'll have a payment, just like a car payment, you're going to have a house payment. That's called a mortgage, right? So on top of paying your mortgage, okay, on top of paying the bank back for your house, you also have to pay the county every year because you live in the county, and that's it. Like, too bad, you live here, you have to pay, all right? So 2.2%. So let's figure this out, right? We have the total, we want the total, and it should be the price plus the price times the tax rate. So take a moment, I'm going to give you like 2 minutes, see if you can figure this out, and then I'll call on somebody and see if someone has the correct answer. The question is, how much are we going to, how much will I be paying total? You have to be careful here, because what I want to know is how much we're paying in taxes, okay? How much we're paying in taxes. So I want to see what you come up with. This is the only formula that we have so far. So see what you can come up with, and then we'll talk. So how much will I pay? I'm going to clarify this in taxes per year. Okay, what do you think? That enough time? I'll call on someone to see if they have it. How about Faith? Is Faith around? Faith? No Faith? How about Victoria?
Very quick, Faith was in our breakout room and she was there, so I don't know if she went to the restroom real quick. So
Okay, I don't see her name, but that's the thing. But it's okay. Victoria.
Here.
Oh, you're there? Wait, what?
Yeah, for some reason my Zoom has my sister's name.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right. Okay, so did you get anything, Faith? All right.
I got it. I don't know if it's the right answer though.
Okay. What did you put in here? Just tell me what you placed in here. You did equals. What did you put in here?
I put the house price, so the 250,000.
Okay.
Plus 250,000.
Mm-hmm. Times.
Times 0.022. I don't know if that was right.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Okay. And then you
multiply these.
Yes, and that was 5,500.
Okay. And then you add that to the 250.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so 250. So you get 255,500. So that's what I wanted you to get. Now that is like if you were to buy your home and you're paying taxes on that. That's how much you'd pay for everything. That's not the question. The question is, how much did we pay in just the taxes? So Faith, how much of this is just the tax part that we have to pay?
The 5,500.
5,500. Good. So that's the answer to the question. So think about it this way: 5,500 is how much you're going to have to pay. Now, the way the property taxes work, you pay it. You usually pay it. They send a bill. I think it comes in March, if I'm not mistaken. This bill comes, boom, there it is. Pay it, right? So you pay it one time, and you're good for that year, right? So that means that if you're trying to plan a budget, like how much money you're going to need to live in that house, that comes out to be about $460 a month. So this really turns into like $460 a month. That's pretty substantial, isn't it? I mean, don't you think? I mean, that's easily a car payment that you're going to have, and it's for what? I mean, like, what are you paying that for? So I thought that I would show you something kind of interesting. So I'm going to bring up a website here. Let me zoom out here for a second. And I'm showing you this website because everybody in here can get to this website. If you just go to Google and type in BCAD, that's Bexar County Appraisal District. Okay, you can just click on that. And then you can go and do a property search. And then all you have to do here, this is public information, all right? So you can just type in someone's name, all right? And if they own the home, then you can bring up their home and see their value and everything, right? So I'm not gonna bring up anyone's last names here. I'll do myself, okay? Because you could do this yourself if you wanted to, all right? So I'm gonna type in my last name. And it brings up a couple of people. You know what? Let me bring up somebody I didn't realize there was another DiGiovanni in town. I don't know who this is, but let's see about their house. Here's me. That's me and my wife. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this in. Okay, and here's the home. It's at this address, and then here's the value. So the value of the home is the assessed value of this house, and this is not me, this is someone else, is $444,250. Okay, 290,000 of that is the value of the actual house that's sitting on the lot. The land that they're sitting on is worth 150,000. So the land is worth something and the house is worth something. All right, and then what we can do is we can look at, why is there not a tax history? Hold on. Oh, here it is. So here's the tax history on this house. So this is for 2020, okay? The taxes that this homeowner is gonna pay is gonna be about $12,000. That's almost $1,000 a month, right? Just to live in that house on that property, okay? So the more house you have, the more you gotta pay to just have it. It's an interesting way that we do things. Now, this is, I think, the part that I wanted you to see. Where's that money going, right? Where does that property tax go? Well, first of all, it goes to the Bexar County Road and Flood, okay? So 100 of that goes there. The San Antonio River Authority gets $81. Alamo Community Colleges. That's you. This is the money that it takes to run the college. I know you all pay tuition, but that's not enough to run the college. So $600 of that is of this person's 12,000 is going to go to Alamo colleges. The University Health System gets 1,000. Bexar County gets 1,000. The city gets 2,000. Look at this one. Oh my goodness. Wow. San Antonio Independent School District gets $6,000 of the $12,000. That's like public school, right? Kids go to public school, and you know who pays those teachers? Who pays for all the facilities? Who pays for that? We all do. Our property taxes are what pay for that. So this money is going to San Antonio Independent School District. If this home was in Northside, it would go to Northside Independent School District. If it was on the west side, it would go to a different school district. Does that make sense? It depends on where the home is. So is this fair? I want you to think about this. Is this fair?
No, there's actually a lot
Why
of
not?
controversy around that. Because school systems built in the wealthier parts of town get more funding versus like another school district like EISD. I think it's the poorest school district in San Antonio, or one of the poorest.
Yeah.
And a lot of the property taxes are a lot lower than those in Northside. So
yeah, so that's exactly the big question here. Good job, Patrick. And what I was hoping that you would bring up is that if you have a certain part of the community that has a lower income and lower property values, homes that are, you know, $60,000 homes, $70,000 homes, people living in apartments, things like that, then that area of town, yes, they have to pay taxes still, but there's not as much money going into the school, right? So how can you have nice facilities? How can you pay more teachers? How can you have better buildings? All that stuff. Where you go and move to another side of town, where you've got homes that are $500,000, you know, up $1 million homes, they're pumping in so much more money, right? Like, think about this. This home's worth $400,000. if you go to a different side of town, it might take 8 homes, 8 homes to be able to match this. Does that make sense? So there's not equal funding in education, and it's based upon property taxes. So that to me is an issue, right? When we talk about equality in education, how do we fix that? This has turned into a political science class now. But I mean, taxes, I mean, we can sit here and do taxes all day and percentages and do the math, but to me, it's more important that you understand, like, this is relevant stuff. Go ahead, I cut you off.
I mean, if you want to change, I said just voting, that's the only way.
But what's the change? What do you see as a way we could do this differently so that it's better? Because you can vote to make change, but then the people you put in power have to have a plan. So what's the plan? Like, what would be your plan to make this more equal in terms of funding?
Couldn't they, like, instead of doing because I mean, I live in Northside, right? So then what my parents pay will go to Northside Independent School. So then why couldn't we just split it up evenly within the whole San Antonio and like district with their schools?
Yeah, so you mean like just take everyone's property taxes, take a certain percent for schools, put it into a big pot, and then split it equally within the city.
Right.
I think that is definitely something that could be done, right? Now, is that fair? Is that fair? Is it fair that your parents who have a more expensive house perhaps have to fund the education of everyone else? Like, do you know, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, I understand what you're trying to say, because I feel like a lot of people bring up that point too. I just feel like, I don't know. I mean, I want to be a teacher myself, but like, I also see like other school districts, and like, I don't know who brought up, like, you know, in other districts that they don't get enough money like other schools do. And so I just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, this is the root of the problem right here. It's the way we fund. So I like the idea of putting it in a big pot and splitting it up. Another thing I think is something that people don't think about is, why don't we just get rid of it here? Like, why are we taxing it within the property? Why don't we tax it somewhere else? And I think a good place to put it, personally, this is my personal opinion, is I think that we should get rid of it here and put it into our sales tax. So in other words, if you're out there spending a lot of money, then you're going to be paying a lot of taxes. But if you want to save money and not spend as much on taxes, then you just have to cut back on your spending. That means you can't go buy the $5,000 entertainment system at Best Buy that you want, because you're going to pay a huge tax on that. It gives everyone the ability to control how much they're putting in, but people with wealth are going to put in regardless. You know, I'm just giving you another sort of option. But the main point here is that, you know, taxes are real, and you have to look at this because this impacts you, like, as you move forward in your life. I personally can't stand property taxes. And the reason is because I send my kids went to private school. They're going to private school, okay? Now I still pay this, okay? So I have to pay for my kids to go to private school, which is tuition, thousands of dollars a year. I already have to pay that, but that doesn't exempt me from this. I don't get to like sign a little thing that says, oh, you know, I'm paying for my kids' school, so I don't have to pay the property tax. Nope. I'm still paying. Now that's a choice I've made, but that to me is still not fair, right? That should be an option. It's one or the other. I send my kids to public school, I pay, or I send them to private school and I don't have to pay. But again, this is more of a political science type question, and, you know, government and all that, and that's not what this class is about. But math is there. It's interesting. I think it's interesting because people don't realize how much it's actually present in your life. Okay, let's do another example. All right, we're going to step away from that for a moment. I thought about another sort of interesting scenario that might impact you sometime in the near future, is thinking about buying a car. Okay, so some of you have a car, some of you don't. I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people aren't real familiar with, and that is when you buy a car, you have to pay taxes, all right? That you have to pay. But let's just do a quick poll. Just a quick poll. How many of you already own a vehicle? You have a vehicle, okay? When I say own it, I don't mean that you've paid it off. I'm just saying that you own a car. You might be making payments on it, okay? But you have a car. I just want to see how many people this is actually relevant for. Okay, wow, okay. All right, so I'll share the results here. So, 81% of you have a vehicle, all right? So, let's say you take that vehicle, right? And you decide, it's time for a new car. I'm going to give you two different scenarios that you could do. Okay, scenario A is that you're going to sell your car privately. That means you're going to go to like Auto Trader or I don't know, Craigslist or something like that, and you're going to put your car out there and try and sell it yourself. Okay, and then you're going to go buy a car from a dealer or someone else. Okay, doesn't matter if you buy a car from a dealer or you buy it from private person, you have to pay taxes. Okay, that you can't get. I mean, you could not, but then if you get caught, you're going to get in trouble. So that's A. All right. B is you trade your car in at a dealer, and then you buy a car at the same dealership. Okay, so that's what a lot of people do is option B. You go trade your car in, So there are huge differences between these two. All right, and I'm going to try and illustrate the difference between the two with some numbers. So let's say you have a car, and let's say that, let's start with option A. Let's say you go and you look on Kelley Blue Book or something like that, and they say, okay, your car is worth $10,000. Is that okay for a number, everyone? So the value is 10,000. All right. So let's say you go out there and you put it on the market and you get a buyer and they offer you 10,000 and you're happy. You get $10,000, right? Okay, so the value is 10,000. You sell it for 10,000, and now you're ready to go buy a car. Okay, so how expensive do we want the new car to be? Y'all just someone throw out a number.
22,000.
22,000. So you buy a car for $22,000. Okay, the tax rate for cars is usually around 6%. Okay, so the tax rate is about 6%. Let's figure out real quick how much we're going to pay in just the taxes for this car. Right? So what we do is we look at that total equals price plus price times tax rate. And all we're looking at is this piece. Just like the property tax problem, we're going to look at the price times the tax rate. Just that one piece is the taxes that we're paying for the vehicle. So someone do that real quick on the calculator. We're doing 22,000 times 0.06. Who's got that?
1,320.
1,320. Good, yes? Okay, that's how much we paid in taxes. So the total that we pay is that plus the $22,000. Does everyone understand that? $1,320 went out of our pocket, and we'll never see it again, right? It went to go pay for roads and all other sorts of crap that we have. Okay, let's talk about the trade-in. So when you go in and you do trade-in, what usually happens, anyone who's actually gone through this, what usually happens when you go to trade in a car? are they going to give you the $10,000 that it's valued at?
No.
Usually not. Usually the trade-in value is a little bit less. Okay. So let's say you haggle with them a little bit, and let's say you are able to get them to you sell your car, you trade it, okay? You trade it for how much? Let's say $8,500. Okay. So the dealership did not give you as much money for the car as that person who would have bought it privately. So is this better for you or not? Let's see. Now you buy your car at $22,000. Y'all with me? Here's the part that most people don't know. How much are you going to pay taxes on? In scenario B, are you going to pay 6% of $22,000? Just like we did on the left side?
No.
No. When you trade a vehicle in, you only pay tax on the difference in the values. So if I take this $22,000 and I subtract my trade-in value, right? What's that going to be? 9, I can't do simple math right now. 11, 13, 13.5, is that right? No. Yeah, 13.5. Someone double check me, please.
You're right.
Yeah, so 13.5 is the actual price that you have to pay taxes on. Does that make sense? So now let's figure out how much taxes would be on that. So 13.5 times 0.06 would be, oops, $810. All right, so in this particular scenario, let's see if we can figure out which one was better. With the trade-in, we definitely paid less, and we paid less taxes, didn't we? Because we traded in, we paid less taxes. We paid a lot more taxes on the other side. But how much difference did we get when we sold it to the private person and we sold it to the dealership? What was the difference there? How much money in our pocket difference did we get? This was plus $1,500, right? This was $1,500 more than the other one. So even though here, the difference here, this cost us, let me do that real quick, 1320 minus 810. This right here cost us 510 less, right? I mean, sorry, this one right here in yellow, that came out of our pocket. So that was $510 more out of our pocket than if we traded in. But at the same time, we brought in $1,500 more. So we actually saved $1,000 by doing it that way, by selling it to a private owner. Now, I'm not telling you to go sell it to a private owner. That's not the moral of the story here. The moral of the story, and please, when you go to buy a car, take my advice on this, all right? My wife always, anyone who ever wants to buy a car, she always tells me to go with them. She was like, hey, I have a friend buying a car, will you go with them? And I'm like, okay, I guess so. The first thing you do when you go to a car dealership is you take the vehicle you're going to trade in and you sit down and you say, I want you to give me the trade-in value of that vehicle. And when they ask you, well, what are you interested in buying? You don't tell them anything. You say, go tell me how much money you're going to give me for my car. And you get that squared away first, and don't hand them your keys. Okay. I mean, they'll have to check your car. So you'll have to give them the keys to start the car and stuff like that. But as soon as they're done, you demand to get your keys back, because they have a way of holding on to your keys so that you're stuck at the dealership. So you have them assess the car, and then whatever value they come with, like in this case, they offered $8,500. You fight with them to get the value that you think it's worth. All right. And you get the most you can possibly get out of the trade-in value. So maybe they offer $8,500 maybe you can get them to come up, you know, to 9,500. But you have to do that first. And once you're happy about your trade-in value, then you tell them what you're shopping for. All right? And when you go to shop for your car, don't ever tell them how much you're willing to pay a month. That's a very common thing a car dealer will ask you. Well, how much do you want to pay a month? Because what the car dealer will do is they'll make your financing so that your payments are really low, so you're happy, but you're paying for your car for like 7 years. And so by the time you are done paying for it, it's worth nothing, and you're basically upside down because your car is worth less than what you owe on it. So anyway, I don't want to give you like a whole, I'm not trying to lecture you on buying cars. I'm just trying to help you when you go, if you ever go out there. They will take advantage of you if you're not prepared. And you just have to be prepared to walk away from them. If they don't offer you what you want for your trade, you walk away. And I promise you, they'll call you the next day. They will. They'll call you and they'll offer you a little bit more, and you just tell them no until you get what you want. Okay, let's do, let's do number 16. This will be our last problem here. So let me copy it and bring it over, and then we'll look at it together. What time is it? 10:37. Okay, Thomas is selling his Honda CR-V on consignment by leaving it with a dealer who will get 25% of the selling price. What must the selling price be in order for Thomas's share to be $1,475? All right, this is a complicated problem because we haven't seen anything. I mean, mostly what we've done has just been, oh, here's the sale price, here's the tax, just calculate the total. There's more involved here. So just in case you don't know what consignment is, it's basically you give something to someone else for them to sell it for you. And then once they sell it, they keep some of the money. So there's like a charge for you not having to sell it, that someone else deals with that. So I don't know of anyone who does this, but apparently Thomas does. He takes his car to a dealership, says, hey, go sell this car for me. Y'all get to keep 25%, right? So the question is, how much must it be sold for? What must the selling price be so that Thomas at the end gets $1,475? So you have to remember the $1,475 is Thomas's share, right? That's after the dealer has taken out their part. Does anyone have any suggestions on how we could set this up? I'm going to try and help you. Think about this 1475. 1475 is what? What is the 1475?
75% of the total price.
There we go. That's the key right there. We know that, I'm going to draw it in a picture. Okay, let's say that this is the this is the selling price. So we're going to look at the selling prices like a candy bar, okay? We know that when we sell it, 25% of that is gone. This is going to the dealer. And that means that what's left is 75% is going to Thomas. What we need is that the 1475 is that 75%, right? So I'm going to write that down just the way you said it. 1475 is 75% of what?
The price of the car.
The selling price. All right. Do you all see that this is an equation? Think back to the beginning of this section when we were talking about how to convert words into an equation. I can rewrite this as 1475 becomes equals 75% becomes 0.75, of becomes multiplication, and the selling price is what we want. So this problem has nothing to do with that formula that we had just a moment ago, right? Has nothing to do with it. This is just translating words into an equation. And now we just solve for x. So we divide both sides. Let me rewrite the equation so it looks more like an equation. We divide both sides by 0.75. And we get 1475. $1,966.66, roughly. So that's how much the car needs to be sold, how much the car needs to be sold for in order for Thomas to get his cut that he wants of $1,475. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. I just wanna look at the packet real quick. I wanna just talk about the homework, like what you should be looking at doing at this point. So this is the section we started out. It's on page 19 is where the section started. We're talking about percents, proportions, the more about percents, oops. Yeah, more about percents. Applications. Now we haven't finished all the applications. We haven't done mixtures. So where's the homework? Here we go. Here's the homework. So it starts on page 27. You should be able to do all of part A. Part B, we haven't discussed, all right? We haven't discussed, but I still expect that you can do it. All of these problems here, all you're doing is doing the cross multiply. Okay, so like this first one, you multiply across, and then you solve for the variable t. You do that for all of those. So part B you should be able to do. Part C are proportions. So this was kind of what we started class with. You set up the equivalence, you do the two ratios, you figure out what you're solving for. So all of those. And again, I mean, you don't have to do every single one of these, but the more practice, the better. And problems from the test will come from this. Let me see. My gosh, that's a lot of problems. So I would say really probably stopping. Let's say page 29. So page 29, finish up through page 29, and everything from 30 on, just hold off on because we haven't talked completely about that yet. Is that clear to everyone? Where did it start again? Start on page 27. So 27, 28, and 29. I think if you do those, you have enough information, and we'll come back and we'll finish up and do mixtures, and then we'll move on to scientific notation. All right. Okay, everyone, have a great weekend. I will see you on what, Tuesday? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, sir. Have a good day.
All right, you too.